wake up and realize I had it all. It seemed like
Hey, how you doing today? Welcome to another episode of Open Doors. It's your boy Chris Harris. I'm back with another good, great, awesome topic for us to discuss today. I know we're going to have an awesome time. Before we get started, I want you to hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already, because we're dropping them fast. They're in the kitchen. We're in the kitchen working, cooking them, dropping them out fast. They're interesting topics that we need to discuss. Yes, we need to discuss these, and you don't want to miss out with your busy schedule. So instead of having to search for Open Doors, it'll come right to you. So hit that subscribe button, share this podcast, share this episode, because I know you got some people who want to get in on this conversation. All right, let's get started. I have a topic that's kind of controversial by nature. So it's election time, right? We got a Republican candidate running for president of the United States of America, former President Donald Trump. We got now Kamala Harris, the Democratic nominee, running on the other side for the president of the United States. But here is the topic that I want us to discuss. And let me say it like this. So one day I was looking on social media, and I follow one of my dear friends. She's a lady, middle-class lady. And she says something. And it was something that happened, I think, with President Donald Trump, former President Donald Trump. She said something. But the way that she said it, she was like, that's why I always vote blue. That's why I always vote blue. And it's not just her that said that, right? I live in a Democratic stronghold, number one. I'm in Chicago, Illinois, Cook County, Democratic stronghold. I mean, when you talk about strong, I don't know if there's another word bigger or greater than stronghold, but let's just use stronghold. Democratic stronghold. I don't even remember when the last Republican mayor of Chicago. Cook County board president. I don't even remember when the last Republican board president in Cook County, in the county that Chicago was in. Democratic stronghold. My family, if I can describe my family, they vote blue. They vote blue. I think that we just grow up and we vote blue. So the sister said that. She said that, and I started thinking. Then I saw other people talking about it, that they're siding with blue. They're siding with blue, right? But it made me wonder why. Now, there's nothing wrong with siding with blue, right? It's nothing. A little bit about myself. I don't consider myself Democratic or Republican. I'm in the middle. I'm nonpartisan. I'm looking at the candidate, what do they have to offer, how is it going to benefit me, their values, the things that they want to do go in line with what I believe. So I'm nonpartisan. So I'm not here to tell you to vote one way or the other way, but I just want us to have a discussion, because everybody, most people I know, it's automatic. It's automatic. I'm voting blue. Like I said, my family, we grew up that way. So it wasn't even like just being raised in my family, just being raised in our history, just growing up, our family history, just being raised from the house that I was raised, and the family that I was raised. Not just that, from the neighborhood that I was raised. It wasn't even a doubt. Like it wasn't even something that you talked about. You voting blue. Blue was our party. The blue candidate, the Democratic candidate. That was where we go. No questions asked. We didn't even look to see their track record. We didn't even look to see their resume. We just believed that was better than the red. We believed that was better than the other side. But I want us to just dive into it today. Do we always have to vote blue? Do we always have to vote Democrat? Let's talk about it today, all right? I want to play a video. Stephen A. Smith, he was on a show, and this conversation came up. I want to see what he said, and then let's come back and have a conversation, all right?
I think things are so different today because okay, let's go back to, you've talked about this before, and I'll just kind of ask you, I think it's good for the audience if you want to go through it. 1960, 64% of African Americans would vote Democrat.
Yes, sir.
The rest was conservative.
Yes, sir.
Let's put liberal and conservative. That's a better way of saying it, right?
Okay.
64 liberal, 36 conservative. 1964, 4 years later, 92% blacks are voting Democrat.
Yeah. Lyndon B. Johnson's civil rights legislation.
So what happened there? Maybe give a little bit of the history of Goldwater, Lyndon Johnson, what he did.
JFK's assassinated. Lyndon B. Johnson's in office. Republicans and Democrats, back in the day, Dixiecrats, bipartisanly bring a bill to the desk of Lyndon B. Johnson. He signed civil rights legislation into law. According to whatever reports you believe, Lyndon B. Johnson says, we bring this legislation, we sign this legislation into law, we'll have the Negroes voting for us for the next 50 years. Sure enough, that's what it was. And I think me personally, as I've edified myself over the years to see what's been transpiring in our community, on one hand, when I look at legislation and I think about affirmative action and other things, and I see how I've benefited because opportunities were given to me at a particular moment in time in the 80s, for example, when, that some would say may not have been given to me if I were not an African American or you didn't have affirmative action in a place and what have you. When you hear those things, you're trying to lean left because you're saying they're thinking about us, they're thinking about us. And like you said, those messengers from the Democratic Party are very profound. You've got Jimmy Carter in office, but the economy was so bad, so Reagan had to get him out of there. But you got Reagan in office from 80 to 88. You're looking at what transpired in his administration, good or bad, depending on how you think about it. But if you're not educated, what are you thinking? Did he care about black people? You're actually asking those questions if you're coming from the black community and you're not reading all the time. You're not educating yourself because you're literally trying to survive. And when that happens, ultimately it becomes habit. Your mama voted Democrat, your dad voted Democrat, your big sister, big brother voted Democrat. How could you think about voting any other way? And all of a sudden, those habits kick in, and then you get older and older, and you start seeing how it profoundly affects your life as an individual, and you're like, wait a minute. Like, for example, for me, when we go back to 2016, 2020, Hillary was somebody that I would not have mind seeing in office. In 2020, I can tell you right now, I would have voted for Kasich. In 2016, I would have voted for Kasich. I would have voted for Chris Christie. I would have voted definitely for those guys. And there's a plethora. I would have voted for Nikki Haley. If Nikki Haley was running right now instead of Donald Trump, she would be getting my vote over the Democrats. I wouldn't hesitate because no matter what you think about those folks, they show you they know how to be an adult in the room. That's a far cry from where I was 15, 20 years ago. It would have been Democrat all day, every day. I don't think like that now.
I just want to leave that there because I got a lot to say on the topic. And Stephen A. Smith, he hit it on the mark. Like I was saying that me, myself, personally, now, where I'm at now, I'm nonpartisan. I don't necessarily represent the Democratic Party. I don't say I represent the Republican Party. I'm nonpartisan. I'm in the middle. I'm looking at the candidates, who's the best candidate for me. And you know why? Because I believe that one is far left and the other one is far right. And none of them want to meet in the middle. I believe that we need more than two major political parties. I believe it's time for that. I know there are some candidates who run independent, but because of the two major political parties, they don't get enough pull, enough support. But the blue, the red, like the Bloods and the Crips, it's like become two gangs. And they have so much influence, but one is extreme on one end, the other is extreme on the other end. Like I said, one is far left at the cliff, they about to fall off the cliff, and the other one is far right at the cliff, about to far off the cliff, but none of them want to come to the middle, and let's work together to make this country better. That's just my rant. That's just my opinion. I'm nonpartisan. Let's get back to the topic. Because I grew up in a family and I grew up in a community, Democrat, 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 Democrat. You didn't even think. You didn't even think about it. And just thinking about the history of black people, why do we always vote Democrat? Now, Stephen A. Smith, he mentioned about the Great Society program by LBJ, Lyndon B. Johnson, and he talked about how JFK was assassinated and LBJ, Lyndon B. Johnson, came into office, and he brought these federal government programs, representing the Democratic side, and it helped black people. Civil rights, the medical assistance, Medicare, different things that he implemented with the Great Society program when he came into office. And from there, Democrat. But L.B. Johnson, they say, was a racist. L.B. Johnson was a racist. And I was just looking at the history of the Republicans and the Democrats. I did some research. And after the Civil War, it's amazing, right? After the Civil War, blacks, who would they vote? They vote Republican because of Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln was the great emancipator, and they voted Republican because of that. The Democrats were considered evil. They were considered, the enemy in a way because of the different rules and regulations they implemented that to fight against the progress of black people, to keep black people disenfranchised. Jim Crow was Democrat. There were the poll tax was Democrat. They had literacy tests and different things of that nature to stop the black person, the black man from voting. Well, the Republicans, they had the great Republicans, the radical Republicans. They implemented, the 14th Amendment, they ratified the 15th Amendment, and so on and so on. So in that time, the party was the Republican Party. But along the way, there was a switch because blacks were voting Republican, but they felt like their voice wasn't being heard. Their voice wasn't being heard. It's like we're voting Republican, but nothing is getting better with our life. What are you doing? What are you doing? You're taking our vote, but nothing is getting better. But we kept pledging our allegiance, and a lot of times when it comes to us, our vote is emotional. It's an emotional vote. Abraham Lincoln, at that time, he was the great emancipator. They abolished slavery and the things that they did for the slave. So we're going to vote Republican, and we're going to keep voting Republican, and we're going to keep voting Republican. And then one day they say, wait a minute, we're voting Republican, but nothing's changing. We're voting Republican, there's nothing changing. And then it became this push of the black leaders, predominantly led by the NAACP. They were established, and they were a strong force in that time. Another thing, as I did my research, the black leaders were united at that time. The black community was united during that time, where they were mobilized, they were together, they were strategic, and they wanted everyone to know our vote matters. Our vote matters. And what happened is the Democrats caught on. They said, hey, their vote do matter. Their votes do matter. So the Democrats caught on, and after the Great Depression, when Franklin B. Roosevelt came in, and he gave his New Deal policies, helping the black man, supposedly helping the black man and the black family with different programs that he implemented with the New Deal programs that he put in. The Great Society, LBJs, was just like 2.0 of the New Deal, but it just was programs, federal programs that were supposed to help the black man, the black family to make progress. But was it really that? Was it really that? Because I believe they've always taken our vote for granted. And one thing I will say, and the topic is, why do we always vote Democrat? Why do we always vote Democrat? And just looking at the history, like I said, it was Republican until we said, you know what, we keep voting Republican and nothing is changing. Nothing is changing. And then our leaders start pushing like, hey, our vote matters. We need change. We need change. And then the Great Depression happened. Now, who suffered more in the Great Depression? The blacks, because we were already suffering. We were already suffering. We were already struggling. And then the Great Depression happens in America. So somebody who's already suffering, you get hit with a Great Depression. That's just suffering on top of suffering. That's just struggle on top of struggle. So here comes the Democrats. And the Democrats understood now, oh, the black vote is powerful. Because the black leaders at that time, like I was saying, the NAACP and the black leaders at that time, they were mobilizing the vote. They were doing a voting block, and they were like, look, our vote will be heard. Our voice will be heard. So the Democrats, they said, you know what? We need the black vote. So they started implementing different programs. It said that Franklin D. Roosevelt, he portrayed himself as a friend to the black community. He would invite black leaders to some of his functions. Him and his wife would be there to take pictures with black leaders. He would meet with black people. He would take pictures and just to portray himself with a concern for the black community. These were things that they did. And like I said, the New Deal that he put out there were programs that were supposed to address the struggles of the black community. These social programs that we still lean on today. And from there, the vote for Democrat, the vote from Democrat, I know they talked about LBJ, but it started there with Franklin D. Roosevelt. It started there, but it continued to grow. It continued to grow because those programs were there, and they would say, "Hey, we'll give you this. We'll assist you with this. We'll give you this assistance. We'll give you that assistance, and long as we have your vote, and as they continue to do that, and we continue because we thought they were helping us. But what they were doing was say, hey, the government will assist you. You will lean on the government, but as long as we got you in our back pocket, when it's time to have that vote, we know you'll be online to get that vote. But as they continue to push that out, we continue to vote Democrat, Democrat, Democrat. And then, like he said, LBJ, when LBJ came in and pushed the Great Society programs, the Medicare and the civil rights programs and things like that. It was Dr. Martin Luther King and the civil rights leaders who pushed for voting rights, but the Democrats took honors of it. Took honors of that and said like it was the Democrats who did that, but it was Dr. Martin Luther King, it was the civil rights leaders who did that, but they portrayed themselves as a friend to black people. Oh, we're doing this great thing for you. We've opened up a door for you. That's progress for you, and we kept. Oh, here's our vote. Oh, yeah, here's our vote. The social programs, the Social Security, the Medicare, and these things, we give that to you. The food stamps and the Section 8 and things like that. We'll give that to you. Oh, here is our vote. Here is our vote. So they had our vote in their back pocket, but has black people made enough progress from it? That's the question. Or have we just voted emotionally Democrat, Democrat, Democrat? I want us to talk about this. I want you to think about that for a second because we just wake up Democrat. I'm voting blue. I'm voting blue. I'm voting blue. But why? Why? Because what has the blue done for you? You see what I'm saying? What has the blue done for you? And one thing I dislike, and like I said, I'm nonpartisan. One thing I dislike about the Democrats, they have these social programs, and I just said it earlier. They have these social programs. And let me say this. I believe that a lot of the social programs are needed. Because we don't have the same advantages as everybody else. You go to a lot of communities, the resources are not there. The social programs, I believe, are needed. But, here is the but. Here is the but. It's not for us to live off on. And I believe that the government, the Democrats, they keep us enslaved. They keep us imprisoned by these social programs. Because they know because you need it, you depend on that, they got you. We're going to always have them in our back pocket. We're going to always have them come November. We're going to always have them come election because they're living off us. We're living off the government with these social programs, and they weren't meant for that. That's what I'm saying. They weren't meant for that. It's okay to get benefits. It's okay to get these things to help you get back on your feet, but that shouldn't be your goal. Or let me live off the government. That shouldn't be your drive. You should want to do that to get back on your feet, and now you want to keep moving. You want to keep moving because there's more for your life than that. It's more than you being a orphan to the government. It's more than you being a pawn to the government. And that's what the Democrats do. All right? Now, I'm not picking on the Democrats because the Republicans, a lot of times, they don't want you to have nothing. Like I said, I believe that the social programs are good. I believe that they're good, but they're only supposed to be temporary. The Republicans, I remember I was unemployed. We had the recession, 2008, 2009 or somewhere like that. We had a big real estate crisis. You remember that? And I got laid off. I was in a real estate title closer, escrow closer, and I got laid off because the market was bad. And I had just had my daughter as well, so I was getting unemployment. The economy was bad. There wasn't a lot of jobs hiring. People were getting laid off. And I remember, I think unemployment was like 6 weeks or something like that. Maybe 6 months. I think maybe 6 months. I can't remember the duration. Maybe it varies depending on state. I'm not sure. But I remember they give you like an initial maybe 6 months. I think it's 6 months. They give you the initial 6 months. But we're in a recession. There is no work. Jobs are not hiring. They're laying off. My job wasn't the only job that laid off. They're laying off. But so Barack Obama was the president then. Barack Obama, the Democrats, they were like, look, people need the extension of the unemployment because we're in a recession. That's the state of the economy. But there were Republicans trying to stop the extension. There were so many people off of work. It wasn't like we didn't want to go to work. Men, women, they wanted to go to work, but the market, the economy, it just didn't dictate that because of the recession. And there were Republicans trying to stop the extension of the unemployment. And I always think about that because I say, man, what if they had succeeded to stop the extension? Where would I be? Now, I know God would have took care of me. God would have opened up a door for me. I have faith in that. But just looking at it from that practical level, just saying, man, they wanted to stop. They didn't care about I needed the money to feed my family. So that's why I say I stay in the middle because I believe that there's some things that can be changed on both sides. But just going back to the topic, for a black man, just from where I was raised and from our black community, why do we feel the need to always vote blue? We do it without even looking at the policies. We do it without even looking at the candidate, the track record. Blue, blue, like Stephen A. said, blue, 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 blue. And should it be that way? Or should we look and say, okay, which candidate is right for me? Which candidate can I agree with on their policies and the different programs they're trying to implement? Which candidate do I believe will steer this country in the right direction? Should it be about that? Or should it just be like, hey, blue? It's blue. Because like I said, going back in history, the Republican Party was the party that most former slaves, the black community, they voted for. And they kept voting, and they kept voting, and they kept voting. And the Democrats were looked at as the enemy. But then there became that switch. Now, Democrat, blue. And the Republicans, for the most part, are looked at as the enemy. You see how that switch and that portrayal is. But do we just go by our emotion? Or are you someone who say, let me look at this person, let me look at this candidate, let me vet this candidate, let me see which one will make America successful? Talk to me, ladies and gentlemen. Talk to me. This is interesting because, like I said, a lot of people I talk to, especially in the black community, is blue. No ifs, ands, and buts about it. It's blue every day. And I'm not saying don't vote blue. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying who you should vote for. That's your right. That's your opinion. But what I'm saying is, have you really vetted the candidate? Do you believe that that person is the right candidate, or do you believe that, oh, it's blue? I'm voting for that. Oh, it's red. I'm voting for that. Let me know. Talk to me. That's all I have in store for you today. It's an interesting topic. I would love to hear what you have to say. Let me know in the comments. Remember to share this episode. Remember to like this episode. Remember to check me out on Instagram, YoungKing1982. Let me give a shout out to the Dream Team, Blessed Dreams Production, my boy Alfred. Eyes Have Not Seen, my sister Marilyn. And to the next time an episode drops, be blessed.
Don't ever take nothing for granted, man. Hey, you gotta wake up and realize it all.